This is the opportunity that the 49ers wanted again, and they get it 2 weeks after failing against the Seattle Seahawks in Week 18. There are several things that the 49ers think can be very different, though, in this rematch on Saturday night up in the Pacific Northwest. And it starts with run defense. Seattle went for 180 yards on 39 carries, and I think that it is poetic that run defense for the 49ers is what is going to determine whether or not they have a chance to pull off another upset and extend their season, because that's exactly what the biggest weakness of this team was in 2024. That's why they fired Nick Sorensen and brought in Robert Saleh, and it's one of the areas where they've made the most massive improvements this season. They were number 29 last year in run defense. If you are that bad, you lose all control of the game. You cannot dictate anything about how the game flows. The problem for the 49ers is that due to injuries this year, there has been a surge in run defense in the positive, but there have been also many ebbs in run defense. It's gone backwards for the 49ers in some critical spots, including that Week 18 game against the Seahawks. But there is major reason to believe that the dynamics of this game on Saturday will be different. That's not to say that the Seahawks won't be able to run the ball on Saturday, but I think that the 49ers are better positioned now to not give up 180 yards on 39 carries. I stepped into the 49ers locker room yesterday, and I'm going to be back into the locker room today and tomorrow, and I've got a great little vibe check from the locker room for you that I'm going to share in a few minutes. But first, I want you to hear from Eric Kendricks, because he's one of the players who's going to start this game on Saturday who did not start the Week 18 game. The 49ers have two new linebackers, Kendricks and Garrett Wallow, who both played really well. They were their tackle leaders against Philadelphia, who will be starting now. They didn't against the Seahawks before. And the 49ers also have a rookie safety, Marquise Siegel, who likely is going to be starting, and he didn't in Week 18. Anyway, Eric Kendricks has delivered exactly as advertised for the 49ers. Over the past month, I've been talking about his all-pro pedigree, and I've been talking about his recognition and his ability to flow within a defense. Well, Eric Kendricks delivered just that, and Kyle Shanahan said that, I just met the guy recently in person, but I feel like I've known him for a really long time because I've been planning against him on the silent tape. He's somebody who jumps out when you watch the silent tape. So I wanted to ask Eric Kendricks if he feels the same way about Kyle Shanahan when he watches Shanahan offenses on the silent tape, because he's preparing for one this week. Clint Kubiak, the Seattle Seahawks offensive coordinator, is obviously a disciple of the Shanahan system. Kyle Shanahan said that even though he just met you not too long ago, he felt that he knew you for years through the silent tape by preparing for defenses that you were on. Does the opposite work too? Whenever you prepared for a Shanahan offense of the 49ers, can you kind of communicate or get
Absolutely.
to know a coach?
Yeah, absolutely. I think Shanahan, we talk about offensive coordinators, Shanahan, Ben Johnson, those kind of guys. Those guys are the guys that I hated playing against the most, which means I usually respected them the most as well. There's a couple of other coordinators in there as well, but it's the respect is mutual for sure.
So the reason that I chose that clip is because not only has Eric Kendricks changed the prospects of this 49ers defense, and he is the main man who's going to be counted on to lead that defense to build the bridge to Fred Warner. Speaking of the bridge to Fred Warner, well, here's the most famous bridge in the world, the Golden Gate Bridge. That's San Francisco this morning. 49ers trying to build that bridge back to Warner probably next week. Who knows? Maybe a surprise is in store. It was a beautiful morning in the city, but still is. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning. Going to head down to the facility here in a little bit. But not only is Eric Kendricks the man at the middle of that 49ers defense, hoping to turn this around. And I think in a lot of ways that they did turn it around against the Eagles, giving up only 4.3 yards per play. But he's facing a Shanahan-type offense. The Seahawks are going to try to imprint 49er-style domination on this game. The Seahawks did imprint 49er-style domination on the Week 18 game. And it's no coincidence because they brought in Clint Kubiak to run their offense. Shanahan, what he does works. Shanahan has won a ton of playoff games. He's the second longest tenured coach in the NFL. So when Mike McDonald took over in Seattle, he tried to emulate, he tried to copy a lot of what Shanahan does. And when you look at the stats from the game a couple weeks ago, the Seattle Seahawks held the ball for 38 minutes, only 22 for the 49ers. That's what San Francisco normally does to opponents. The Seahawks also picked up those 180 yards on the ground. Shanahan, he likes to get up near 40 carries. That means that he's really controlling the game. 39 carries for Seattle, 180 yards. Quarterback Sam Darnold only had to throw the ball 26 times. He was efficient, 20 of 26, 198 yards. I mean, it was a formulaic win for the Seahawks. And I mean, we look at the big play for Seattle, the Zach Charbonnet touchdown run. The 49ers had two major issues. Tatum Bethune, the linebacker, who's obviously not going to play in this game, he's on injured reserve, fired into the wrong gap. And Charbonnet was able to cut to the left side, and the D gap was unoccupied. And Jair Brown, who was going to be the 49ers safety valve on the far side of the field, decided to try to cover for Bethune, and he got sucked into the tight end. So Charbonnet had free space, and then obviously further downfield, Malik Mustafa missed him. That was a back-breaking play for San Francisco because this was a game that they're facing the best defense in football when they're facing the Seattle Seahawks. So you can't give up these massive busts on the defense, on your own defensive end, because then you're going to be playing behind the eight ball on the other side of the ball. Now, there was another issue, and this is on the other side of the ball, that the 49ers think they can fix or at least alleviate this week. They didn't have any verticality on offense against the Seahawks. And if you remember when San Francisco in that game ruled out Ricky Pearsall 90 minutes before, the first thing I said, I made a video, I tweeted, I said, I predicted the 49ers to win this game, but I think I'm changing my prediction right now because there's no Ricky Pearsall. And to me, the math didn't work for the 49ers anymore without Ricky Pearsall against this Seattle defense. And by math, a lot of people have asked me, well, what do you mean by this math? I mean the actual geometry of the field. You have to create space, especially against these elite defenses that are able to plaster you on the back end and then take time away from the quarterback so guys can't get open. There are two sides to that equation, right? You have to create space, and you have to create it quickly. And one way to create space is to establish verticality down the field, because it takes the defense a couple steps backwards, and then there's more room underneath. And one thing, if you watch the game against Seattle 2 weeks ago, it was a lot of short throws that were caught, and then there was no yards after the catch for the 49ers because the Seahawks were right on the 49ers receivers. There was no space to work with. So to create space, and the difference maker in week one to create space was Ricky Pearsall. You need a bona fide wide receiver, like top of his game wide receiver. When Pearsall has been available this year, he has been that guy. He's been well over 2 yards per route run. Yeah, he's made the difference in week one. I thought that he made the difference against the Chicago Bears. That was a worse defense, but still a really, really good performance from Pearsall in week 17. The other 49ers receivers, they're all productive guys. They're all skilled guys, from Jawan Jennings to Demarcus Robinson to Kendrick Bourne, but there is no real top-end speed there for the 49ers. And it's not just about the speed. It's also about the route running and the ability to break the cornerback's ankles. Pearsall is back at practice this week. He didn't practice last week. I think for the 49ers to have the math, like a clear mathematical shot to win this game. I'm not necessarily saying they're going to be favored if this happens, but to actually have a non-greasy path toward winning this game, I think that Ricky Pearsall will need to be available. Anyway, caught up with Demarcus Robinson in the 49ers locker room. We haven't put any interviews with Demarcus Robinson up on the channel yet, so he doesn't talk all that much in the locker room, but he had such a big game last week, 6 catches, 111 yards. And Demarcus also caught a game winner last year against the Seahawks in Seattle. It was a deep shot from Matthew Stafford. Demarcus was playing with the Rams. So I made sure to ask Demarcus about that moment, because he's obviously had some success up at Lumen Field.
Dang, why we can't play on Sunday night? We want our rest too, but that's all good.
Is it gratifying to play such a big role? I mean, you've obviously played a role all season, but you hadn't had anything close to that in terms of yards and everything.
Oh yeah, it's amazing to just to pick up that role and going out to be able to go out and make plays, to know that Kyle and Purdy got trust in me.
What was it last year? You had the game winner in Seattle.
Yeah, it was last year.
But could you just take us back through that play? I think it was in overtime, but what was it like to silence that stadium?
It was amazing, man. We been battling our game, going back and forth. The defense played great. Matthew put it up there, gave me a shot, and caught the one hand and end the game.
After Week 18, Seattle guys were pretty vocal online, social media. Did you guys take exception to that?
I don't think so much. Like, we were just trying to get to the next game. But now, like, looking at it, like, yeah, we kind of like, it kind of fueled a little fire up on us. So, yeah, now we do.
Fuel a little fire. There's been some trash talk back and forth, and I think neither of these two teams has been afraid to shy away from trash talking, and the Seahawks, I think, are talking a little bit more, and they earned it. They won that game in Week 18, but the 49ers haven't been shy about acknowledging that they've heard it. And I think if you're a football fan, I think if you're an entertainment fan, you embrace that kind of stuff. It's like Shanahan said, it's like wrestling. It builds the hype a little bit. And Shanahan, he's so far into his playbook, and he's just sitting there studying 24/7 that he could care less about some of the social media talk and Uchenna Nwosu's comments on Fred Warner's Instagram and all of the like. But the fans care, and reporters care, and YouTubers care, and it adds to the intrigue. It's part of the fun, right? There's going to be anticipation building from now until Saturday night. It's going to reach a fever pitch by the time that kickoff hits at Lumen Field at 5:00, and all we can do is enjoy. All we can do is sit back and embrace the pageantry of NFL football on the highest level at a playoff stage. And it's going to be a lot of fun between the 49ers and the Seahawks. So locker room vibes. I promised you that I would take you inside the 49ers locker room. And I'm going to just put up what I wrote because I wanted to find the right words for this. And I think that I succeeded last night. I would hope so. A lot of people have liked this on social media. But it's my job to not only tell you about the X's and O's and the injuries and the 49ers prospects, but it's also my job to convey the vibe. And especially for a team that has overcome odds the way that the 49ers have, that has performed at a level that has defied statistical explanation, I think it is imperative to properly report on a team vibe. That is such an important part of this team's story. You cannot just robotically analyze the 49ers because they are defying some of the black and white metrics this season. So today, and by that I meant Tuesday, was the most easygoing, relaxed vibe I've felt in the 49ers locker room all season and maybe in years. It might be impossible to ever match 2019 in this regard. 2019 was a really, really easygoing, energetic, upbeat, young, nothing to lose vibe. But yesterday was probably the closest to that since 2019 itself. There's currently excitement in the building surrounding Fred Warner's potential return. That man cannot stop smiling right now. I talked to Fred for a little bit. I've seen him quite a bit over the last few days, and every single time I see him, he is smiling more than I've ever seen Fred smiling. He is obviously very, very excited. Today is going to be his first official practice back from the ankle fracture sustained on October 12th. But behind everything, there's this eager calmness. It almost seems zen-like in the 49ers locker room. The win in Philadelphia might have fully unlocked that. Rookies and veterans alike know that they've maximized the hand they were dealt, and now they can fully embody a nothing-to-lose mindset. The 49ers were clearly in rest and body recovery mode on Tuesday, and they haven't been shy about their desire to face Seattle again. There's a combination of real respect for the Seahawks and a prevailing thought that amongst the 49ers, they didn't put their best foot forward in Week 18. if that's a solid picture, give me a thumbs up in the comment section. If it's a bad picture, give me a thumbs down and I'll do better today. I'll try to write about the vibes again after I head into the 49ers building. And it's hard. It's hard to encapsulate something as, I guess, subjective as vibes, right? There's no way to properly quantify vibes. You have to write about them with adjectives, and you have to find a way to convey something that can't really be photographed into words, and that's what I tried to do. But I sensed this for the first time this season. I sensed it in the post-game locker room at Philadelphia. The first guy that I ran into when I walked in there was Trent Williams. And I told you guys a little bit about this after the game, but I got a mood and a look from Trent Williams that I had never seen before. This true youthful joy. I mean, the guy's 37 years old. He's on year 45 in the NFL, as Christian McCaffrey joked. Year 16, actually. But the look on his face, the smile, the relief, but also just the sense of being in the moment and the enjoyment of the moment. When I talked to Trent, he said that stretched back to the final drive, that he was totally chill on that final drive. You're supposed to be nervous on that final drive. And I'm sure a lot of 49ers fans were, because they weren't in that locker room, and they, it's torture, right? It's a 2010 San Francisco Giants torture like run. There's so many similarities between that team and this one. But if you talk to guys on that 2010 San Francisco Giants World Series team, and then you talk to 49ers players, and if you're in that locker room, you'll understand that even though it's torturous from the outside, there's this sense of calm on the inside that has been the product of the insane amount of resilience that the team has already overcome this season. They know that they have maximized this season. They therefore feel like they have nothing to lose. The most dangerous adversary is one with nothing to lose. I'm going to invoke the Fight Club scene again, because I think that this is a great illustration of where the 49ers are at. You don't know where I've been, Lou. That's Tyler Durden. He's in the basement. He's in the Fight Club, and the bar owner, Lou, walks down, and he just starts beating the crap out of Tyler Durden. And every single punch makes Tyler stronger. He does not get knocked out. And then he delivers the famous line, "You don't know where I've been, Lou. You don't know all that I've been through. All that I've been through has made the challenge that you present me, all these punches that you're throwing at me, trivial in comparison." And I think that's how the 49ers looked at the final drive in Philadelphia. They found a way to score. Brock Purdy led them down the field. Christian McCaffrey scored that go-ahead touchdown. And then they realized, well, we've already made stops at the end of games, even with a decimated defense. We could go back to the Chicago Bears in Week 17. They scared us a whole lot more than Jalen Hurts and the Eagles, who just fired their offensive coordinator, will ever scare us. And the 49ers were at peace, and they knew that they were going to get that stop, because they know that they've maximized their season through resilience. And now it's house money moving forward. All they wanted was another chance at the Seattle Seahawks, because they feel that they didn't put their best foot forward in Week 18. And that takes me back to the tactical side of things. That was the emotional, psychological side of things. The tactical side of things is that the 49ers didn't stop the run. They gave up the 3rd and 17 on the ground. They gave up 180 yards, and they didn't have offensive verticality against Seattle in Week 18. They think they can fix both of these issues. They think that Eric Kendricks, Garrett Wallow, Marquise Siegel are going to be big changes to that run defense. And they think that Ricky Pearsall can be a big change to the passing verticality. Speaking of Garrett Wallow, this is really cool. You might be wondering who he is. They picked him up off of waivers. Like, he was a waiver claim after the Denver Broncos, the number 1 seed in the AFC, waived him in December. So he was on the same team as Dre Greenlaw, who's now with Denver, the former 49er. Wallow is now starting at Greenlaw's old spot, the weak side linebacker spot on this 49ers offense. So we should have a listen in to Garrett Wallow talking. And at one point here, there's a question about his relationship with Dre Greenlaw, and it turns out that they're very, very good friends. Meet new 49ers weak side linebacker Garrett Wallow.
Anytime, a team is doing really well, I think they have an identity. And I think that's one thing that I seen when I was with the Broncos down there. I think they had an identity, and you come here and it's a team that knows who they are and they have an identity as well. So just being able to, I guess you can say, fall back always on that identity and just know what type of team we are. I think that's why, most of those teams or teams in the NFL who are successful is because of that reason.
Did you send a text to Dre Greenlaw or Hufanga when you got picked up here to say, like, what am I getting myself into?
No, so me and Dre actually got really close when I went to the Broncos, and so we talked about this place a lot, especially since we came for a joint practice here during camp. And so whenever I got picked up here, me and him, we talked about it. He was just excited for me, and I'm sure Huff and them were as well.
What did you think about this place back during that workout? Did you make any impressions of the 49ers when you were on the Broncos?
Yeah, I mean, we knew the 49ers were a great team. They had been for years, and we knew guys coming in that we had to be on our stuff, and exactly was that. So, yeah, I mean, the expectation was always high when you're going against guys like this.
As part of your preparation and study to play here, do you watch any slightly older 49ers tape with Dre on it, or is it mainly just this year's stuff?
Honestly, there are a lot of, when we go through film study, a lot of old tape does pop up, especially when going through teams that we played in the past. But a lot of it just goes to, this year's stuff, and then the opponent on what they do, watching their cuts, things like that.
What enabled you and Kendricks to communicate so well after sort of being thrown together and being here?
Right, I just think, just being here, I guess, not being here a month ago and now being here, I just think the only thing we could do was kind of over-communicate. And so I guess communication kept me and him poised and comfortable during the game. Just whatever was out there, even talking, just to give each other a heads up. I think that helped a lot.
Eric was saying that KJ Wright played a huge role for him.
Yeah.
What has he been like in terms of his know-how and everything?
Yeah.
What have you seen?
KJ is awesome. He was a former player, and just always getting his perspective definitely helps a lot. I mean, he's going to be a phenomenal coach.
It's not a guarantee. Sorry, it's not a guarantee, but Shanahan even said, the goal is for Fred to maybe return next week. Knowing if you guys get a win, what does that mean to you to think that maybe you guys could step out there together?
I mean, that'd be cool, and I mean, that's several things that's out of my control. But that'd be awesome, even for him to hit that milestone, especially the team losing him early in the year. I mean, I think that'd be awesome for him. More importantly, yeah.
Thanks, Garrett.
Yeah.
So they're talking about Fred Warner and that return. Kalia Davis also talked about Garrett Wallow wasn't with this team when Fred Warner initially went down, but Kalia was. This is a shorter answer from Kalia about 49ers potentially getting Fred back.
Honestly, we just want to win, but for someone who really set the standard here, like, I'll do anything to play with them again this year, with this group, most definitely. But, we want them back out there.
Thanks, Garrett. Thank you.
You guys getting that Zen-like carefree vibe a little bit through the interviews? It's more than just the interviews. It's I walk around and I talk to a lot of guys off camera. I very much prefer being in the locker room than sitting at a press conference where everybody's trying to shout a question in the auditorium. I like going and talking to guys one-on-one. I don't like shoving a camera or a microphone up in their face. It's just having conversations with guys. Yesterday I talked to CJ West and Alfred Collins, and you want to talk about the 49ers run defense. When those two guys, they're both rookies, when those two guys have been on the field at the same time, this team is given up less than 3 yards a carry this year. And that split has improved, and their snap counts have grown over the course of this year too. And both Kalia and both CJ and Alfred Collins verified to me that playing the past 3 games, which have all been playoff level games, and they say this probably even goes back to Indianapolis where it got really real. So Monday night against Indy, back home against the Chicago Bears on Sunday night, Seattle in week 18, and then the Philadelphia Eagles in the wild card round. So it's been basically a 4-game playoff run for the 49ers so far. And both CJ and Alfred said that they really have matured a ton over the last month in their football communication. It's not just, a lot of it's physical at the NFL level. You got to learn how to leverage your pads. You have to stay lower. You're not just going to overpower everybody with bad technique in the NFL. So obviously you've got to get that down. But then the game moves so fast and every millimeter matters so much that you have to play off of the guy next to you. And you have to do that while the bullets are flying. And that's not easy against offenses that are scheming to beat you. And CJ and Alfred both told me that the last month has really found them entering lockstep together. And this is just the beginning. The bigger picture of all this is that the 49ers are in year one of this cycle. They reset this offseason. And they have 13 wins under their belts, reliant heavily on some of these rookies, despite the fact that they have all of these injuries. Moving into 2026, the CJ West Alfred Collins Foundation at defensive tackle is going to be a duo of seasoned veterans, because they will have at least 5 playoff-like games under their belts. This is number 5 coming up at Seattle. If they win, they could have 6. If they win again, they could have up to 7 with the Super Bowl being back at Levi Stadium. But again, house money. The 49ers have already maximized this 2025 season. And I think that you could safely say that CJ and Alfred are in a better place than they were week 18, because now they have that playoff victory at Philadelphia under their belts. And they have the tape from the Seahawks game from a couple weeks ago under their belts. And they're going to be working against Gray Zabel and company on the interior of that Seattle line, with Eric Kendricks now backing them up. Eric Kendricks and Garrett Wallow backing them up, and maybe with a Fred Warner surprise. But the 49ers are a different team defensively right now than they were in week 18, and that's very, very critical. Remember, they were hanging on by a thread. Even though they gave up only 13 points, it wasn't a good performance from the 49ers defense. They did not do anything to help the 49ers control that game. They allowed those 180 yards on the ground. They, would make a sporadic play here and there. Upton Stout is who we talked about so much last night. I mean, he has blossomed, and he's a rookie as well. But Upton Stout covered Cooper Kupp on that 4th down in the end zone at the goal line. That was a stop, or that was very important for the 49ers early in that game. I'm trying to think what other they didn't make the play that was right in front of them when Yetur Gross-Matos couldn't fall on the fumble. You guys remember that one? That was 3rd or 4th quarter. It was the second half. Sam Darnold tripped and fumbled the football, and it was there for the taking. But those are tough to recover. It has to bounce the right way. The football is this oblong shape, and it was just a game where the 49ers had a couple opportunities despite getting dominated to get back into it, but they couldn't capitalize on those. Christian McCaffrey, the ball got tipped at the line of scrimmage, and he wasn't able to hold on to it, and it turned into a Drake Thomas interception. A week later, Christian shows up in Philadelphia and makes a Willie Mays style over the head, over the shoulder catch. And that was one of the most sensational catches that you'll ever see a linebacker make. But the week prior, he was unable to hold on to the ball that got tipped at the line of scrimmage, and it got intercepted by Seattle. Small things like this make huge differences, and the 49ers think that they can get some of those small things to break in their favor when they head to Seattle on Saturday. We're at 98,713 subscribers. The goal has been 100,000 real subscribers all season. So here, I'm going to even make a text title saying this: 100,000 real subscribers, because there's a difference between real subscribers that are hard-earned and ones that you just buy that are fake. We're trying to get to 100,000 real subscribers. So hit that subscribe button. I'm going to get it going. Time for Robert Saleh to talk. We will talk to you very, very soon.